Right. Looks like we have some folks joining in. Nice. Hey everyone, we'll just wait for a minute or two for folks to join in. So glad to see all of you on a Sunday afternoon. Right. So just to make things clear, this is going to be a very chilled out session. And yeah, like to be honest, so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Denver. Uh, I run everything. I look into everything at Devfolio, helping build Devfolio at 256 Labs. Been with the team since the very beginning, since 2018, and yeah. Uh, and to be very honest, I've never done anything like this before, so I'd appreciate if all of you are a bit patient with me. So. Uh, yeah, just that. So like I just wanted to be a very chill session, uh, and would like some of you to even help out if possible uh, with it. So yeah, like first I like just want to try and understand it's uh, like what is like, hey, some familiar names here. Hey Pranav. Yeah, so just wanted to try and understand like what is everybody's like experience level with like Web3 or something. Like, have you heard about it? I've just heard about it, curious to know more. Or have you dived deeper into DeFi, NFTs? Uh, Maybe let's talk about what's the most exciting term that you've heard in Web3. Uh, Next.js and new to Web3. All right. All right. Okay. What made you curious about Web3? What's like attracting to you to Web3? Ownership. All right. Started selling Solidity, basic knowledge. All right. Concept of blockchain. All right. All right. All right. Right. Okay. So ideas like decentralization, blockchain, and stuff, right? Quite frankly, I like this. Quite frankly, the thing that introduced me to Web3 was the FUD. Uh, okay, so for those of you who don't know, so I'll try to demystify as much jargon as possible. And to be honest, like this is by no means like an expert level talk. So like I like for those of you who are like there might be some points in like which some of you might be uh, have more knowledge about it than me. So feel free to just let me know. Uh, I'll just want to share what I've like what my personal journey has been. And yeah, thanks a lot, Kumar. All right. Uh, all right. Where do we begin? Right. So what's like what's like uh, what's like the uh, like I'm sure most of you must have heard of like Bitcoin. That's possibly, yeah, like today it will be only me speaking, but yeah, like most of you must have heard of Bitcoin, right? uh, so first of all, let's take a look at Bitcoin. Let's see what we can learn about that and go from there. I don't have any slides prepared, so I'm just going to jam this whole session out, and then let's see if it works out for the best. If you all are getting bored, I'll probably just let me know if you get bored at any point. I'd be happy to pick up the pace or like switch to something else, right? Hope you folks can see my screen. See the chat. All right. See my screen. All right. Cool. Okay. So starting with Bitcoin, let's just see what Wikipedia says, right? Bitcoin is a decentralized currency, digital currency without a central bank or single administrator that can be sent from user to user on the peer-to-peer Bitcoin network without the need for intermediaries, right? So certain key things that are very important here, right? The very important thing here being intermediaries. So think about like in a traditional finance institution, how does it work? You need to actually go to a bank and you take your money, you take like physical money that somebody has given you that has been issued by your government, and you take it and you keep it with the bank, and the bank says, all right, bank just writes in a ledger and says that, okay, trust me, I'm such a big bank, I'm SBI or whatever, trust me that, okay, when you want your money, you can get it back. So that is just like the basics of how traditional banks work, right? And then they have all sorts of things on top of it. How does a bank make money? Simple, like it just like it it lends out money, and it also takes in money. So that difference, so it lends out at a higher rate than what it gets from you, and then that's just how the banking system works. So Bitcoin was like defined in a white paper by an anonymous person. Nobody knows still who it is. His name was Satoshi Nakamoto, and this was in October 2008, right? And so he or she, I'm not too sure, so I'm just going to use they for reference. So they defined such a sort of a system in which there would be no need for intermediary, like to trust a bank or something like that. And just through code, you can ensure that money goes from one place to the other, right? Uh, and then what beyond that? So that was Bitcoin was the first that came in. Then along the way, there was this guy. Some of you must have heard of him. Most of you must have heard of him by now. Named Vitalik. So Vitalik, he actually had a pretty good. Let me see. Okay, so all right, yeah, this is what I was looking for. Let me try to find that. All right, okay, cool. So this is how it started off, right? So yeah, this is Vitalik, one of the most important people in the world right now. So like, let's take a look at his bio. Very interesting. So he was born in 1994 in Russia and moved to Canada in 2000, where he went to school. So then he says that from 2007 to 2010, he happily played World of Warcraft. But one day, Blizzard removed some like damage component from his spell, and then he cried himself to speak and realized like what like the how centralized powers can misuse their authorities can misuse their power. So that's when he realized that, and it might seem silly, but then it is somewhat the silly things that drive great innovations. So then he had discovered Bitcoin, and then from there, 2012 he had gone to Waterloo. 2013 he dropped out of there, and then his core insight was like, so in Bitcoin, what can you do, right? So let's say like there's Ramesh and Suresh, right? Just an example of two folks. I don't know if you get that reference from the 5-star ad a couple of years back, but so that's all you can do with Bitcoin. Like Ramesh has Bitcoin, Ramesh can send Suresh Bitcoin, and then Suresh can say, okay, I have Bitcoin, and then Suresh can send somebody else Bitcoin, and that's it, right? So you can do only that much, right? With Bitcoin. But then with what Vitalik's insight was something new. Like what he did was he came up with a concept called smart contracts. So smart contracts are basically pieces of code, very elegant pieces of code that can control the flow of money, that control the flow of any token, right? Uh, so essentially, then what happens is that you can, and like he built a blockchain, invented a blockchain called Ethereum, right? And then Ethereum is what is the backbone, and it was the first blockchain to come up with smart contracts. And so with smart contracts, what happened is that you could send Ethereum, put it in the smart contract, it would be there for some time until you programmatically tell it to move to some other place, right? uh, so that's how like smart contracts work, and this was revolutionary. And as we go on, we'll see just how this simple idea, why it is so revolutionary, right? So like, yeah, now you can start thinking, and you can build all sorts of interesting things. So for example, there are two freelancers, like, so there's a freelancer and there's a person who has employed a freelancer. uh, Instead of like both of them needing to trust each other, both of them can just like the money that the freelancer is owned can just be in the smart contract, and as soon as the freelancer provides a proof of work, uh, then the money is automatically comes into that person's account, right? So that is just a small example, uh, probably not a very great example, but that in essence is what smart contracts, how smart contracts behave, right? uh, so yeah, I hope you're all on the same page with that on me, and then maybe we can take a look at how things panned out with Ethereum. Mm, let me see if I can find some sort of good infographic. Mm, 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 mm. All right, this is very, yeah, seems to be a bit technical. Let's see. Okay. So yeah, for those of you wondering, this is like a very raw session. So I'm just going to like check how things work. All right, cool. So yeah, basically in 2014, then Vitalik Buterin and other co-founders of Ethereum launched a crowdsourcing campaign where they gave these Ether tokens that are key to their blockchain, and they raised more than 18 million. And yeah, that was sometime in 2014, 2015, right? And yeah, that's where uh, Ethereum took off. In between, there was like a very big, big, big incident in between in 2016. 50 million in Ethereum in Ether was stolen by an anonymous hacker, and then look, Ethereum actually split into two chains. So not many people, I think this thing is glossed over recently, but then basically there were two chains created. One was Ethereum Classic, and one is what we now known as Ethereum. And this was infamously known as the DAO attack, right? And this is very different from the DAO that you hear about now, right? So that is Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, and basically Vitalik and other folks were able to convince people that forget this Ethereum Classic chain and move on to this Ethereum chain. This is the main chain. That was how it is. Like Is that somewhat clear? Yeah, but no matter, even if it isn't, that's pretty fine. So that when that happened, then after that, like people started around 2017 or so, like people started thinking, how do we use this thing, right? Other than, okay, it's great, like, Bitcoin is there, you can send money to each other, you can send money using Ethereum uh, to each other, but how can we really exploit this concept of smart contracts? And one of the first things that came about uh, was something called DeFi, right? So DeFi is nothing but decentralized finance. It's short for decentralized finance. Let's see. Yeah, decentralized finance is nothing but like decentralized way to do traditional finance. So key attractions are like eliminates the fees that banks and other financial companies are. You hold your money in an actual digital wallet instead of keeping in a bank, and even an internet connection can use it without needing approval, right? So all of this is just, but what does this actually mean? Maybe I can all right, just give me a minute. Can probably, all right, cool. So for example, this is what I mean. Like, so how can you get your own decentralized wallet? So think about this, right? So when you want to actually go ahead and open a bank account, what do? You have to go, you have to go to the bank, and then you just stand in line, and then you go get into the building, and then they tell you there's a lunch break going on, and then by the time you come back, then they ask you for 10 documents, and then you sit and fill them down, and by the time you fill them down, it's already time for them to go home, right? And basically a lot of headache. And even then, at the end of the day, you're trusting them with your money. Whereas in, like, if you want to open a decentralized account, it's nothing but just go to this extension, just install this extension. It's called MetaMask. uh, Go here, download it. It's a quick download. It'll get set up here. It'll ask you for some sort of, so there are two things here. So there is something called a public address, and the other is like uh, a private address, private key. So using these two things, you can secure, you have like created your wallet. Just require these two things. So similar to your email and password, something like that. Not exactly that, but then essentially, if you just have these two addresses, then you have essentially opened up a crypto bank account. As simple as that, right? Uh, and maybe I can show you how that works. All right. So for example, so this is like a very useful website. It's called etherscan.io. And essentially using this, you can explore the entire Ethereum blockchain. So which is very important distinction here. Ethereum is a public blockchain. It's not a private blockchain. So in private blockchain, it's like you'll have like a set number of nodes, which is defined by some sort of central authority. Uh, and again, right, that's, you can see already why that does not make sense. If it's a central authority telling you the number of nodes, then it's very possible that they would have some control over it. So that's how it works. And some of, like, for example, like I think Linux Foundation supports some uh, blockchains like Hyperledger or something, and this is an example of a private blockchain, right? And so for interestingly, like, most of the use cases you think about that traditionally you think would be good use cases of blockchain come from somewhere around like material that folks have put out regarding, like, private blockchains. But that is not exactly where all the innovation is happening. The innovation happens on public blockchains, and on public blockchains, as you can see here, I can go ahead and look at any transaction. Let me take a look at it. All right. I think I've looked into something. Okay, let me do one thing. Okay. All right. So this is very interesting. Okay, let me cover something else here. So you must be knowing that any website now, you're typing Google into this one, you're not actually, like, you're typing Google only into your browser, right? And your browser on the back end is resolving it into an IP address, right? And an IP address is like some sort of wide thing. And then like it's the DNS which keeps a record of like which IP address belongs to whom, and like resolves it and everything. So similar to that, we have something in Web3 called ENS, right? ENS is just Ethereum name service. So this kind of long address that you're seeing here, right? 16-bit address. So you don't want it to be so ugly. So then what do? Then you can go and you can register your name here, and you can get a Ethereum name address. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So for example, what Vitalik did was, then he had this address, and then he went and claimed Vitalik.eth first, right? It's like a website address, and then you can see here everything that's related to that. So I can go and see. All right. No surprise here that Vitalik's address has a lot of activity. But the best part is that I can go ahead and I can see exactly how much balance is there. I can see which tokens he has. He has so many different types of tokens here. And I can also see what transactions he has been doing. And this is true for anybody. As soon as you come to know their public address, you can easily like get to know about that, whatever they have been doing. For example, I can see this transaction hash. This is the transaction. Can see like at what gas price was paid, what was the transaction fee, when it was done. So everything is visible in a public blockchain. That's the beauty of public blockchains. All right. I hope most of you are on the same page. What we were going to dive into was DeFi. Let me see if I can. Okay, so for example, there are some really cool YouTube videos which talk about. So this is one that I really like. So if you want to learn more about what we have spoken so far, I suggest you really go and look into whatever is here, all the videos up till here. So now we are going to move into something called DeFi, decentralized finance, which I spoken about earlier. I think when sharing my screen, if I want to enable, I need to reshare it. Okay. This DeFi.
Have you ever heard about DeFi?
Are you folks able to hear the
before?
sound?
Are DeFi like banks?
Let me just check chat. All right, cool. So what I will do is, okay, so I do not want to take the entire 12 minutes. Maybe I could let him speak a bit and do a bit of a voiceover. I hope you can you can hear me as well, both the video and me. So I'll probably pause the video in between and then keep speaking. All right, cool. Right.
Apps, the ultimate killer apps in the crypto space, or just new hype? No matter if you never heard about DeFi before, or you want to make sure you understand it right, this video is for you. DeFi, or decentralized finance, is a move.
Okay, just a quick question here. Like, are you folks comfortable with me increasing the speed up to maybe 1.5? All right. If it's too fast, I'll, yeah. Cool.
Movement that aims at making a new financial system that is open to everyone and doesn't require trusting intermediaries like banks. To achieve that, DeFi relies heavily on cryptography, blockchain, and smart contracts. Smart contracts are the main building blocks on DeFi. If you don't know what smart contracts are, or you want to refresh your knowledge, you can pause this video and watch my introduction to smart contracts video first. It's worth noticing that currently most, if not pretty much all of the DeFi projects are built on Ethereum. The main reason for this is the Ethereum's fairly robust programming language called Solidity that allows for writing advanced smart contracts that can contain all the necessary logic for the DeFi applications. Besides that, Ethereum has the most developed ecosystem across all the smart contract platforms, with thousands of developers building new applications every day, and the most value locked in smart contracts, which create an additional network effect. In fact, all the DeFi protocols mentioned in this video are built on Ethereum. Now, let's see how it all started. One of the first projects that started the decentralized finance movement was MakerDAO. MakerDAO, founded in 2015, allows users to lock in collateral such ETH and generate DAI, a stablecoin that by using certain incentives follows the price of US dollar. DAI can be also used for saving on Maker's Oasis platform. This recreates one of the pillars of the financial system, lending and borrowing. In fact, DeFi is trying to create the whole new financial ecosystem in a permissionless and open way. Lending and borrowing is only one part of this ecosystem. Some of the other important parts are stablecoins, decentralized exchanges, derivatives, margin trading, and insurance. Let's talk about each of the categories one by one. Trading and insurance.
All right. Okay, cool. And yes, Simendra is asking, Solana is a different blockchain network than Ethereum and Bitcoin. The answer is yes. And I'll come to that. I'll come to that in a bit. I'll try to cover everything here. Yeah, how do Polygon followers make money? Yeah, right now there's no other way to be honest. Like they have like the Matic tokens, and then like if the value accrues to Matic tokens, that's how essentially they make money, and obviously many more investments and everything. So the idea is not for like Polygon is not like a business, a traditional business. It's more of like a public good. So I'm not too sure that question makes much more sense. But then yeah. But anyway, so I hope you all got somewhat of an idea about what DeFi is. I'll start talking about what different like parts of DeFi are, right? So pause my screen here. Right. Cool. So let's talk a bit about stable coins. The first thing is stable coins. So for example, you like let me like just
let's talk about each of the
let's talk about stable coins for a bit. Go to CoinGecko. Okay. So yeah, so here you can see, like, I hope you can again see my screen, and here you can see multiple coins, right? Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, BNB, USD coin, XRP. Any idea just by looking at this? Any clue which of these we can classify as a stable coin? Just out of these, maybe, yeah, maybe these top 10 coins that you can see on screen. Which of these are like stable coins? Quick question. Coins: BNB, USDC, Tether, all top 5. USD. All right. Some of you yes, some of you have got the right answer. And Samantha says the one which tracks US dollars movement. Yes. And so why exactly? So you must be noting that, look at the price of all of them, right? So you look at the price of Bitcoin, it will go up and down. It's right now at $39,000. Ethereum is at $2,800. And all of them have movements in their charts. But if you look at some coins like Tether, for example, USDC, USDT, that's the name of the coin. Tether is the name of the company. It's at $1. If you look at USD coin, USDC, it's also at $1. And if you look at BUSD, Binance USD, that's also at or very close to $1. So then the idea here is that why do we need stable coins? So for example, you go to a friend, again, Ramesh and Suresh, let's just take that example. So Ramesh goes to Suresh, and then he goes okay, I did so and so, I fixed your car tires for you, you owe me 1 ETH. Of course, that's a very expensive bill, but then yeah. So the thing is then, if you see, there's a fundamental problem here. So if Ramesh gives Suresh 1 ETH, at the time of when they agreed for 1 ETH payment, from the point to when it actually you transfer it, there might be a difference. So for example, if the price of Ethereum increases, so then the thing is that Ramesh will actually regret giving him 1 ETH, because he's given out more money than he planned. But if the price of Ethereum falls, then Ramesh is in loss. Suresh is in loss, I'm sorry. So to just keep these things constant and to provide a equivalent of USD in financial, in the crypto world, we have something called stable coins. So stable coins are Tether, USDC, and BUSD. They will always have their value maintained as $1. And how they do that, that is that's a bit complicated. We'll not go into that. So that in a sense is what it is, right? All right. I think you folks have understood stable coins. Maybe I could get back to the video, and maybe I can just pause it. Yeah, right. All right. So let's talk about all of these things one by one.
And insurance.
Right? So what is the first thing that came up in traditional in Web3, in DeFi? So first thing is what is already there in traditional finance. You just take that and you start making that, right? So for example, the first thing that people made were banks. And what do banks do? That is lending and borrowing. So banks were the first sort of things that came up. Then what do you do? Then once you have banks, what is the next? So you call these primitives. What is the next primitive you make? Next primitive is where you try to exchange the tokens. And how can you do that? So in the real world, there's something like share market, where you have one share and you exchange it for another share. In this world, you have something called decentralized exchanges, DEXs. Derivatives are a slightly advanced concept, based on finance. Margin trading is again even in share market, you can always take a loan and kind of trade, short-term loan. So that's what margin trading is. And insurance is similar to how it works in the traditional world. So traditional finance is called TradFi or CFI. So I think this YouTuber will dive into each of them, and we can probably just listen to him. Right.
Let's talk about each of the categories one by one. Besides MakerDAO that we just mentioned, there are a few other important DeFi projects in this category. The main one is Compound. Compound, at the time of creating this video, is the biggest DeFi project in the lending category, with around $630 million worth of assets locked in the protocol. Compound is an algorithmic, autonomous interest rate protocol that allows users to supply assets like Ether, BAT, 0x, or Tether and start making interest. Supplied assets can also act as collateral for borrowing other assets. Another popular DeFi project in this category is Aave. With clever use of smart contracts and certain incentives, we can create a stablecoin that is pegged to the US dollar without having to store dollars in the real world. We already mentioned MakerDAO that essentially allows the users to lock in their collateral and generate DAI. DAI is a good example of an algorithmic stablecoin. Besides DAI, there are multiple other non-algorithmic stablecoins like USDT, USDC, or PAX. The main problem with them is the fact that they are centralized, as there is a company behind them that is responsible for holding the equivalent of the value of stablecoins in US dollar or other assets. Nevertheless, these stablecoins gained a lot of popularity and are extensively used in DeFi applications like Compound or Aave. Decentralized exchanges, or DEXs, in opposite to standard centralized crypto exchanges, allow for exchanging crypto assets in a completely decentralized and permissionless way without giving up the custody of the coins. There are two main types of DEXs: the liquidity pool-based and the order book-based ones. A few examples of the liquidity pool-based ones are Uniswap, Kyber, Balancer, and Bancor. Loopring and IDEX are examples of the order book-based ones. Similarly to traditional finance, derivatives are contracts that derive their value from the performance of an underlying asset. The main DeFi application in this space is Synthetics, which is a decentralized platform that provides on-chain exposure to different assets. Margin trading, also similarly to traditional finance, is the practice of using borrowed funds to increase a position in a certain asset. The main DeFi apps in the margin trading space are DYDX and Fulcrum. Insurance is yet another part of traditional finance that can be reproduced in decentralized finance. It provides certain guarantees of compensation in return for a payment of a premium. One of the most popular applications of insurance in the DeFi space is protection against smart contract failures and protection of deposits. The most popular DeFi projects in this space are Nexus Mutual and Open. Another really important, although not strictly limited to finance, part of the DeFi ecosystem are Oracle services that focus on delivering reliable data feeds from the outside world into the smart contracts. The most popular project in this space is Chainlink. These are pretty much all the main parts of the DeFi ecosystem. They can also be combined together in multiple various ways. We can think about them as money Legos, as more complicated DeFi projects can be built on top of the existing blocks.
All right. All right. So let's take some time to look at the chat. So I hope like most of you got somewhat of an idea about DeFi and the different things that are there in DeFi. What I'll do next is probably I'll really quickly go ahead and show you some DeFi websites, right? Maybe let's see what I should do. Maybe I could show you Aave. Then I could show you Uniswap. What else? Uniswap, Aave DYDX. All right. Maybe I'll show you pull together. Yes, we'll send the recording over, and I'll put it up on YouTube. And yeah, maybe I'll also show you Superfluid. That should give you a decent understanding about DeFi, right? So just remind me, these are the websites that I need to show you. Yeah, right. Any other questions that I need to take up? Okay. For questions, let me look at the Q&A section. Definitely help out. Okay, I don't know how to answer this question. Don't mind if I dismiss it. How do I have, can we have a rigorous path? Certainly blockchain development resources, a proper pathway. Yes, like if you go through like what all the what we are talking about, that's like definitely a rigorous way to learn. And I'll also in the end I'll share some more resources where you can actually start building. So what is this session is more about understanding like what's out there, right? I'm a complete noob in blockchain exam. Can I participate in the hackathon? Yes, you can participate in the hackathon, and like there's a lot more to do. Done. How to answer this? Done. Will Ethereum 2.0 and Polygon coexist? Yes. The short answer is yes. Even beyond Ethereum 2.0, there'll be a need for scaling much beyond it. So yes, Polygon will come and scale it much more. I'll talk about layer twos, layer ones and layer twos, and I think we can also talk about Notion doc of the bounties. It's simple. Let me just put that in the chat. Right. Here you go. All right. Where can I watch the replay of the webinar? I'll send it over later. Does one to need to learn front end first to become a or one can start by Solidity directly? You can start by Solidity directly. I should have some experience with coding, but yeah, front end is not required as such. You can just use stuff like scaffold ETH. Can you shed some more lights about on oracles, how they are decentralized? All right, I can also talk about oracles. Yes, cool. Remind me also to show you chain link. Right. Explain proof of stake. Cool. Things required for building dApp. I'll talk about it later. I will do this. Right. Can you explain proof of stake? Okay. So like, think of this is that it's nothing but proof of stake is the new version, is a new consensus mechanism. Well, it's not really a consensus mechanism, but just for easy understanding, treat it like a consensus mechanism. So for example, in a centralized computer, what is there, right? You just need the server to give you, like, to tell you that, okay, I agree with this and this is correct. But in a decentralized setup, you need all nodes to agree on something. So how do all nodes agree on one particular thing? There needs to be some sort of consensus mechanism, some sort of algorithm. So the traditional method was something called proof of work, right? So that is something that Bitcoin started with, and which is why Ethereum also then adopted it initially. And then later on, as things have gone by, then they have realized that proof of stake is more efficient, and Ethereum will be switching to proof of stake by end of 2022. Like I think mid 2022, there'll be an event called the merge. It will switch to proof of stake. And proof of stake is a little different. So in proof of work, what happens is that proof of work is where all the mining, the talks about mining happens. So for example, like all the nodes are just given some sort of, like, to verify some sort of transaction, they're given some random cryptographically hard problem to solve. And then then purely by chance, the more mining power you use, purely by chance you solve it. And then you, like, as per that, you get rewards, right? So that's mining, and that's proof of work. So you need to give proof of work that, yes, I have put in so much hash rate and I have tried to solve this problem. And if you actually solve that cryptographic puzzle, then you get some ether, or ether in case of Ethereum, and Bitcoin in case of Bitcoin back. And that's how proof of work works. And then proof of stake is different. Proof of stake is that you actually need to hold some amount of ether with you. And then if you hold this amount of, like, say, for example, so for Ethereum, it's the minimum amount of ether that you need to hold is 32 ETH. So if you have 32 ETH, what you can do is in your home computer, in your laptop, you can set up a node, and then once proof of stake goes live, then your computer becomes a node. And then you always need to, your computer will need to keep verifying the transactions. And yeah, if you keep verifying the transaction, then you get rewards. Similar to, as opposed to proof of work, where you need to do the mining to get the rewards. So I hope, I hope that kind of answers the question. Yes, proof of work is not eco-friendly. I agree with that. Why do we need querying protocols like graph protocol? I think we are a little bit, okay, all right. Just remind me, I'll also cover the graph protocol. Cool. I'm just putting down my notes, and I hope you all can remind me the websites to show you. Maybe I should also show you IPFS and Filecoin. Can you talk about Yearn Finance and Wi-Fi tokens? Well, I can, but then, yeah, maybe I'll get to that also. Just remind me once I show you some. So, okay, cool. Let's get to what I was showing you really quickly. Cool. Okay, what's the first website I wanted to show you? Aave. Cool. Aave is most close to what is traditionally known as, like, what is a bank in the traditional world, right? And the idea is simple. You enter the app. Maybe I can. All right. Let me see it. Once I've done this, okay. I haven't never used Aave. So this is my MetaMask. It will ask me to connect my MetaMask. Okay. Maybe I can shift. Okay, my account 2 is connected to Aave. I can look at my dashboard. No deposit from my okay. Right. Let's see if I'm on Ethereum. Okay, I'm on Ethereum. Market. All right. Can deposit matters. So for example, like there are, like, it's just very simple. I have all of these assets. If I deposit them, I start to get an interest, right? So for example, if I have market, let's look at some deposit rates. Okay, the deposit rates are higher for some tokens, lower for other tokens. So Curve has a higher 7.8 deposit rate. So if I have Curve token, I can put it here and it will start growing at 7.8% per year, right? So that's just Aave. And then on the other hand, I can also borrow using Aave. There are two APYs. Let's not get into that. But then if you want a stable APY, I can borrow DAI. DAI is another stable coin. I can borrow it at 12.45% interest. Right. That's just how Aave works. Next, let's talk about very interesting Uniswap. Uniswap is like the OG project, and concept is very simple. I have X token, I want Y token, I'll just go ahead and exchange it here. So for example, here in my account, I have very less Ether. Okay, let me use my max Ether. It's worth $79, and I want to exchange it to USDC. And I should be getting around $79. So I can see here, yes, I'm getting $79. And if I click on swap, it will ask me to confirm in MetaMask. I'll have to pay some gas fees. Okay, so something that's very important: for every transaction in like Web3 in Ethereum, you need to pay a fees called gas. And gas is just like, it gets it's stored in your wallet. It's just the ether, just gets deducted from the ether that's stored in your wallet. And because Ethereum is like very decentralized and everything, gas fees are typically high. So if I do this swap, it will cost me a lot. It will cost me a significant amount. Not just going to do that, but yeah, this is how I can swap. So I can exchange my Ethereum for USDC. I can exchange, if I have any other token, I can exchange for any other token. So that's essentially Aave, Aave and Uniswap. What else did I say that I'll show you? Pool together. Right, pool together is something really interesting, and this I believe is like something that is that I don't really think that there is an equivalent of this in the traditional world, right? So for example, like think about how lotteries work in the real world. So you buy a lottery ticket, everybody gets into a lottery, gets pulled into the lottery, and then there is one winner. One winner wins the entire prize for it. Just give me a minute. All right. Cool. Yeah, like I was saying, so a lottery, like that's how just a lottery works in the real world. I don't think I need to recap that, but something very interesting in like in how it works in the Web3 world is that yeah, how it works is here.
Did you know that households that make less than $12,000 a year spend 5% of their income on lottery tickets? How crazy is that? There's a popular saying that the lotteries have basically become a tax on the poor. With the odds of winning a Powerball being 1 in 300 million, you basically have a better chance of getting struck by lightning twice, then getting on a plane, having that plane crash, then surviving, then 2 weeks later while at the beach, getting attacked by a shark, going to the hospital, and as your wounds are healing, getting infected by a flesh-eating bacteria. But I mean, what's a $3 ticket that could potentially fix all my problems, right? Wrong. Government-sponsored lotteries essentially encourage gambling. Meanwhile, DeFi has given birth to ingenious apps like Pool Together, which uses the same psychological appeal to lottery prizes, but with very different technology and morals. And instead of encouraging gambling, it encourages saving your money. Oh, and I almost forgot, with Pool Together, you can't lose money playing this lottery. You can only make money. Just ask this person who deposited $73 into a weekly prize pool on Pool Together back in March 2020, and most likely forgot about it. Then a year later, on April 9th, 2021, he or she got a nice little surprise in their account.
Okay, all right. Was anybody able to guess how Pool Together works? What Pool Together is? All right. Okay. A no loss lottery is nothing but, like, let's say there are 10 people, each put in $10. Then how much is the prize pool? Is $100. But then imagine that this lottery works for just a week. And what Pool Together does is that it takes your $100, immediately puts it into Aave or somewhere it can get some interest. And then, you know, what happens is, like, let's say the interest is $10. At the end of the week, the interesting thing is everybody gets back their original $10 plus one person gets the additional $10. So it makes it $20. So that, in essence, it's a no loss lottery. You do not lose anything by participating in this lottery. So I hope, you go back and think a bit about it. It's a pretty novel concept. And I haven't seen anything that's equivalent in like the traditional Web3 world. What's the guarantee? The guarantee is like the guarantee is great. The guarantee is encoded with smart contracts. So the entire code is open source and it's guaranteed and it's on the blockchain. So that's how do they earn? They earn by taking your money and putting it into somewhere they can get interest from. For example, Aave. Cool. Another interesting DeFi project that I would like to talk about is Superfluid. So for example, think if you could stream money like you could stream Netflix. So imagine like I just start, like I have $100, and then think of a different way of like, you come work for me. I give you a different proposal. Like I tell you that I'll pay you $1 per hour. And then essentially what will happen is that that money automatically starts getting deducted from that $100, right? So that's interesting to go and check out Superfluid as well. Cool. Is there anything else that I was supposed to be covering? I think Chainlink, somebody had asked for Chainlink. So Chainlink is just like, just Chainlink, how do I? Cool. Chainlink, what it does is that, so for example, how do you know that, what's the price of 1 Ether in the decentralized network? Chainlink provides reliable data feeds. And Chainlink is an example of an oracle, which tries to provide data sources, which brings in data sources from, so first within the decentralized network also. And that's how like Chainlink provides the price that 1 Ether is supposed to be like so much worth so much US dollars. And that's what Chainlink does. It also brings in data from, like you can connect weather API and other non-blockchain data, and you can use Chainlink to bring it to the blockchain. Cool. Okay. There are some folks who want me to talk about yield farming, want me to talk about liquidity pool. All right, I think I'll come to Chainlink is not similar to Covalent. It's the graph protocol that's similar to Covalent. Yeah, all right. There's some folks who want me to talk about yield farming and what else? Liquidity pools. Maybe I can just try to demystify this. Yeah, I think it's better that you folks put in your questions in the Q&A section. I can pick them up from there. All right, let's talk a bit about about yield farming. Go ahead and work in your about oracles. I'm afraid not right now. If I'll lose out on talking about other things if I do. We have a session on by Chainlink team later next week, so you can learn more about it there. So here I just want to talk about liquidity pools, right? So for example, so for yeah, so QuickSwap is very similar to Uniswap that I showed you earlier, and it's just the Polygon or Matic version of Uniswap. And again, the same concept. I have one token, I can exchange it for another token. So how does this happen instantly? This would take some sort of understanding of some concepts. Maybe I can talk about that. What is Uniswap? Cool. If you can see my screen, so Uniswap is very different. Like, so think about how a share market works, right? So in a share market, what happens is that I have X number of shares, and then I want to sell them for Y number of shares. There's when you give it to the share market. So what happens? You go to your log into Zerodha, and then Zerodha connects to the Bombay Stock Exchange or the National Stock Exchange. And then what happens there is that when you say I have X number of shares, it's actually a person on the other end who says I'm ready to exchange it for Y number of shares. And then that matching happens, and this is called an ordered book matching. This is how the perfect matching happens. But then we do not have that kind of liberty in a decentralized network. You need to be very fast in terms of doing that to order book matching, and which, like, if you talk about like blockchains, speed is not one of the highlights of a blockchain, of a truly decentralized blockchain, which is why Ethereum is much slower than any centralized system. But then obviously it's much more decentralized, much more secure than any other system. So they came up with an interesting concept called AMMs. AMMs are automated market makers. And what an AMM does is that, maybe I can talk about that. Works. Okay. Just talk about V2. Oops. Right. Cool. This, in essence, is how Uniswap works. That's essential to understand this. I'm giving a very high level overview. Don't worry if you do not understand much of it. The best part is you can always spend some more time going over this. So how a liquidity pool works is that, so for example, first thing, like I showed you in Uniswap, you can just transfer one token for the other token, right? On the other hand, how does this work? So there's a pool created for each token pair. So for example, there's a ETH USDC token pair that's logged into the Uniswap system. And then for this ETH USDC pair, it's like governed by a simple algorithm called, it's just X into Y equal to K. That should be constant. Price of X into price of Y equal to K. So that's called constant. I forgot what it called, but it's like just yeah, it just needs to be constant. So the price of the multiplication of the price of ETH and USDC needs to be constant. So what does that mean? There needs to be 50% of so yeah, the price will track each other. How do you provide liquidity to this? So let's say that you already have Ethereum, some ETH, and you already have some USDC. You want to earn some money on it. So what you do is you can come and become a liquidity provider on Uniswap. So what you'll do is that you'll go create a pool, and I will say that I want a pair, like I want ETH, I want to provide to the ETH USDC pair. And then like just ignore the price range here, so a little bit advanced. So what will happen here is, if I say 1 ETH, interestingly, what happens is that it takes an equal amount of USDC. So what I need to do is I need to provide an equal amount of ETH. I need to provide equal amount of USDC if I want to become a liquidity provider. The ratio should always be 50-50% or 1:1. 50% of ETH, 50% USDC, or 1:1, equal amounts. So once I do that, I can add liquidity to the pool. I become a liquidity provider. And then when anybody does these swaps, I earn 0.3% of the fees. Right? I hope that's very, very rough understanding about how what liquidity pools are. Cool. Now just bear with me. I'll talk about something beyond, which might be a little more beyond. So like I said, QuickSwap is just a clone of Uniswap. It has a similar thing, like this is a swap function feature. This is the pool where you can add liquidity, become a liquidity provider. Then comes something called mining, right? Liquidity pair mining. So farms, this is what is called yield farming. So what happens is that it's not enough. Sometimes as a liquidity provider, it's like for example, I have a project and I want enough liquidity to be there in the market for my coins. So what I do is that I will not only incentivize people to join, provide liquidity through the pool, I will also run a yield farming program or a liquidity farming program where I can take my, so once I provide liquidity, once I provide equal amounts of Ethereum and USDC, I can get something called a liquidity token, LP token. And I'll take that LP token and put it in the farm, in the yield farm. And then I'll earn even more rewards. So it's just a higher way of earning more rewards. I hope that answers the question somewhat. Yeah, and yeah, Preetham, great suggestion there. All right. Did that kind of answer the question, or did it like go way beyond it? I'm not too sure who asked the question. Cool. Sachej Gadekar says there are 3 ways in DeFi to make money staking. All right. Cool. Yeah, it's new. Will take time. Don't worry. Cool. Impermanent loss. It's just loss. Like, for example, the very basic level, it's just loss that, let's say, like you bought Ethereum at some price and then it falls tomorrow, but you expect it to come back. So, but in the meantime, whatever loss is there, that's impermanent loss. Might be slightly wrong here, so forgive me for that. Cool. Blurring my confidential information. Cool. Is there a lot of confidential information out that's there? But right, I hope not. Cool. Just take some Q&A. If my system becomes a node, should it be on or online 24 hours a day? It does not need to. It ideally should, but then if you turn it off, there'll be some sort of slashing mechanism. Your rewards will be lowered. We give a complete guide for where to open a Web3. I'll take this up later. Sorry, we basic to explain what a liquidity pool is. I just did. Uniswap is different from centralized exchange. Yes, centralized exchange is that, again, you're trusting WazirX. The WazirX, your money is with WazirX. It's nothing other than like a bank or a share market, right? But then in Uniswap, the money is still with you. Uniswap is just a set of smart contracts and a front end built on it, and there's nothing else. So it's completely trustless. You don't need to trust anybody but the smart contracts, which are open source, which is very different from WazirX. Right. Your previous Web3 development, I'll come to that later. Does Polygon make money? Answer that. How does Polygon earn? What are oracles? I answered that. What problem changing is trying to solve? Trying to answer a basic question. Developing that. Are we making a new cryptocurrency? Not exactly. So very basic question. When developing a dApp or any other software on top of an existing blockchain, like Ethereum or Polygon, are we making a new cryptocurrency? No, you're not. You might need to take a token, and token is something, brings me to an interesting thing called, in Ethereum, if you want to create a token, there's a standard that you need to follow. It's called ERC20 standard. And this is the ERC20 standard. This is most common for making a token. So I'll just write this out. ERC20. Right. What is a grant? Why is, I don't understand this. Why is there so much of a meme on Solana? We'll come to Solana later. Can we build a zero gas fee dApp? Interestingly, you can. And what you just do is that you will pay the fees instead of your users. And you can check out Byco Normie for that. Any systems execution or dApp development, we'll take this up later. Glimpse of yield farming, I already did. explain different role of validator, miner, node, etc. It's kind of beyond the scope of this talk. I'll go to that. Is Golang used in developing that? Golang, not so much. Solidity for Ethereum, Solidity. For other coins like Solana and all, you can use Rust and all. So yeah. What's the difference between ERC 1155 and 721? To be honest, I'm not too sure. But I do know that both are standards for creating something known as NFTs, which I hope to come to very quickly. Yeah, we'll talk about this soon. Cool. Hope your folks are with me. All right, smart contract. Good answers here. Right. Yearn finance and Wi-Fi tokens. All right. Yearn is like, this is just the last part of DeFi. After that, essentially we are done with DeFi. Yearn is nothing but, okay, they've changed the, okay. Yearn is nothing but like Yearn.finance. So all of these DeFi, like, gain so much of interest from here, take it here, put it there, like it's very complicated, becomes very complicated. So if you just want to put it in one place and start earning some money, you can use Yearn. And Yearn came up with something called Wi-Fi tokens. Can come to that later. Cool. All right, let me stop sharing my screen. So yeah, just wanted to know, like, how are we doing? So we just got done with DeFi. What do you kind of want me to dive into next? Others will be a little more, even more unstructured. We can either do DAOs, or we can either talk about DAOs now, or we can talk about NFTs. What would you folks like to? DAOs. All right. Cool. More folks for DAOs than NFTs. Cool. Okay. Okay, I'll not talk too much about DAOs. Just give you a brief understanding about concept of DAOs. Let me see if I can find some kinematics video on that. DAOs. Cool, it's fine, I think. So basically, DAOs are nothing but like, it's a way. So what happened is that, you say that, everything is decentralized, the entire blockchain and everything. There's no one person making the decisions. But then all of these apps, like, so for example, Aave, Uniswap, and everything out there, it was just the founders of these apps making the decisions. And that was not that was not in tune with the ideals of the community, of the decentralized Web3 community. So then came about a concept called DAOs. And so for that, what the first step is that if you want to make a DAO out of your project, you need to launch a coin. And essentially that's what Uni did. Uniswap did. Maybe I can talk about that. Yeah, this was a famous blog that Uniswap put out in 2020,
in September 2020. So what it did was that Uniswap launched a token called Uni, and it distributed it to all those who had interacted with Uniswap in some time in the past. So if you were lucky and if you just used the app for anything, for making even a simple swap, you would have gotten like some Uni tokens in your wallet just automatically without even doing anything, right? And obviously then people started trading this Uni token. Then obviously there's some sort of price that came into the picture. Initially, I remember when the Uniswap token came, it started trading at around $3, and then people sold it at $3, $5, and then went to $10, went to $30. So yeah, lot of regret there by a lot of folks, most definitely. But yeah, you live and learn your lessons, sometimes the hard way. But anyway, so that was Uni. And so what happened was that everybody who has Uni token now is essentially a shareholder of Uniswap, owns Uniswap. And then they started the Uniswap DAO. And what happens in that is that whoever has the Uni token, they can either propose over a certain limit, they can either propose that this is a proposal that Uniswap should do this. And then Uniswap token holders can vote yes or no on that proposal. This process of governance and the people who do it, the organization that does it, is called a DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. I hope that makes sense. This is the simplest sort of DAO. This is just a governance DAO. And yeah, you can check out the youth governance forum. So for example, there's much more about the community governance process and everything here. I'll not go into that. For example, somebody put up a proposal for many years that Polygon did not, Uniswap did not deploy on Polygon, on the Polygon network, for various reasons. But then the folks wanted to change it, like the community wanted to change it. So rather than waiting for the founders, somebody put up a proposal, let's deploy Uniswap on Polygon. And then it was put up to a vote, and then by an overwhelming majority, people said yes, and that is why Uniswap was deployed on Polygon. So this is an example of like how a DAO works. And there are different types of DAOs. Not delve deep much into it. Maybe types of DAOs. What can I find? Trying to find a decent resource. This is a decent resource. You can always use Ethereum. Why do you need? So DAOs is like just a counterpart, a decentralized counterpart of a traditional organization. How do DAOs work? Yeah. I think which are the most common DAOs? Yeah, they can be DAOs made out of different types, right? And different types of DAOs, AMM DAOs, like that's the maker DAO, that's the first DAO, in fact, that kind of determined how that DAI remains stable, the mechanism for that. A lot more there. Grant DAOs are like, there's a committee, essentially just a fancier term for a committee, like Aave made its Aave grants DAO, and then people can come in and they could like apply for grants, and then the committee decides, the DAO committee decides who to give the grant to. Social DAOs are like explicitly built for a particular objective, like preserving arts and culture. So for example, is Friends with Benefits is an innovative DAO project that takes pride in leveraging the power of cultural membership. So there are all sorts of interesting bounties, like short tasks that are given out in these DAOs. Collector DAOs is like DAOs are some DAOs just raise money to like collect some very interesting piece of artifact. So for example, Pleaser tried to purchase the original Doge meme NFT for 4 million, so they made a DAO for it. Venture DAOs are investment DAOs. They will invest in your entity. Media DAOs are different. Social media DAOs, entertainment DAOs. These are all like different types of DAOs, and you can delve more into that. So for the sake of like just keeping it short, I'll move on from DAOs because I think I need to cover 2 more things. I can probably, let me see what's going on in the chat. DAOs. Cool. What about staking NFTs? The question is, does the blockchain also exist on a server? Yes, like you can run your nodes on servers in proof of stake. I don't know how does it work. Do crypto exchanges in India maintain liquidity pools? I think most exchanges work on an order book form, but I'm not too sure. I don't know much about centralized exchanges. And dismiss open source and contribute. Yeah, smart contract. As we cannot change the smart contract after deployment in Ethereum mainnet, how are the bugs fixed? Very good question here, Siddish. Yeah, the simple answer here is that it's very difficult to do so. And you need to build in upgradability into your smart contract, either from the beginning or then there are multiple more difficult ways to do so. It's not an easy answer. Cool. Airdrops, you're talking about somebody's like, can we explain airdrops? Airdrops is like, yeah, just like nothing but one day you open up your wallet, one morning you open up your wallet and you have like a surprise in it. Somebody has dropped some tokens worth thousands of dollars into your wallet, and that's pretty much it. It's just an airdrop. Yeah. Right. Folks asking for a Denver DAO. Cool idea. Cool. Cool. I'll just spend some time talking about NFTs. And then maybe I could talk about Polygon. Very important to understand that. And then I believe we can wrap up. Covered almost everything after that. Cool. What are NFTs? Just share my screen again. I'm just going to type in that and try and see if I can find something interesting. Yeah, so the key to understanding NFTs is the logic to understand NFTs is to use no logic. Yeah, that doesn't really make sense, but then that's how it works. So NFTs are like just standard. Maybe I will try kinematics again. Quite like. Let me talk about
NFTs are clearly
okay, cool. again, I'll try to speed this up as much as possible.
One of the hottest topics in
can you hear it? Can you hear the video? Right, and the these says yes. Cool. It'll be a bit fast paced, but then I'll probably try to forward it also.
Crypto at the moment. CryptoPunks, Autoglyphs, Bored Apes, Pudgy Penguins, some of them selling for hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. So are NFTs just a hype or a paradigm change? What are some of the most interesting NFTs out there? And what are the biggest challenges of this new space? You'll find answers to these questions in this video. Before we begin, if you want to learn more about decentralized finance and the technology behind it, make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit the bell icon, and enable all notifications. You can also consider the digital world. Since the dawn of our civilization, humans have been collecting rare items, from seashells and gems to coins, post stamps, and Pokemon cards. NFTs are just digital versions of that. Collectibles, pieces of art, game items, domain names, and even complex bespoke financial instruments, all of these can be represented as NFTs. In contrast to cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or Ether, where each unit is interchangeable, NFTs are unique, at least in most cases. The creator of an NFT project can decide on the exact parameters of their NFTs. Some of the common examples are only one NFT per unique piece of art. Artists that create individual pieces like people follow this approach. A collection where each item has a unique combination of different traits, CryptoPunks, Bored Apes. A collection where there is a set number of the same item in the collection, usually used for card collectibles like Mario Curio cards. The scarcity of individual NFTs can be verified on the blockchain where the project was created. For example, we can tell with 100% certainty that there were only 10,000 original CryptoPunks created on Ethereum. The authenticity of NFTs can also be instantly verified by checking that the NFT we own was created using the original smart contract of a particular project. The blockchain also provides a quick way of checking the provenance of each individual NFT, which is basically the history of its ownership. If you'd like to dive a bit deeper into the technical aspects of NFTs and learn, for example, what fungibility is, or what different NFT standards like ERC721 and ERC1155 are, you can check out my previous video about NFTs here. Now let's go through some of the most popular NFT projects out there. We couldn't start.
Cool. I hope you got somewhat of an idea about how do you define NFTs. Yeah, so essentially NFT is like the full form of NFT is non-fungible token. And so just trying to understand what is fungible versus non-fungible. So like, let's say I have two 5 rupee coins with me, right? I can essentially exchange one for the other. And then there's no difference between those two coins. So that's like those, I will call those two coins fungible or interchangeable. Non-fungible is something unique, right? Something like that. So think of NFTs as a solid, as opposed to tokens, which are like which are continuous. You can think of NFTs as discrete. Does that make sense? For those of you who have heard this term somewhere in mathematics, like continuous and discrete. So tokens are continuous, NFTs are discrete, right? That essence is this essence of NFTs, and they are provably they're different type of token standard. It's used ERC 721 and ERC 1155. So there are like some trade-offs made for each of them. So these are both NFT standards. So remember, I had mentioned earlier that the token standard is ERC 20, right? So that's just what it means. But ERC 721 and ERC 1155 are both yeah. Cool. No, we did not talk about the metaverse, but you can get to it. But yeah, so when like folks figured out that you could take like any sort of image or anything and put it on the blockchain, that's where this whole NFT mania kicked off. And I think the first thing that kicked off was Beeple's NFT is an artist who essentially made one painting a day for 13 years. And then there's an auction house called Christie's. They took it and auctioned it off, and it was amazing for $69 million. That was the amount that somebody sold NFT, the Beeple NFT for. And what the person who bought the NFT, their logic was that I'm essentially, the physical, it's like buying a piece of artwork. The physical copy of the artwork can still be replicated easily, can be destroyed or whatever, but this digital piece of artwork will always be associated with the addresses, right? For example, Beeple's address. So it went from Beeple's address, which everybody knows, and it went to the buyer's address. So the buyer essentially directly bought the art piece from Beeple. So the argument here is that it's even more valuable than a traditional piece of artwork. That does not make sense. Don't worry too much. It does not make sense to a lot of people. Take some time to getting used to. Another interesting thing that came out of this NFT, whole NFT boom, was PFP projects. Yeah, PFP projects were nothing but like, what you do is essentially, let me show you the most interesting one. Show you PAYC. Yeah. So OpenSea, by the way, is the biggest, is a website where you can browse NFTs. You just take a look at, yeah. So essentially, these are a bunch of 10,000 apes, pictures of 10,000 apes, right? Animated apes. And all of them have been generated programmatically. For example, somebody has just taken this base image and added different attributes. Some have a hat, some don't have a hat, some have red eyes, some have like a bandage, and all those sorts of different attributes. And if you go here, you can actually check which attribute, how rare is each attribute. You can check the properties here. The background aquamarine, 13% of these 10,000 apes have this background. Gold stud, only 4% have this trait. Sleepy, 8% have this trait. So these kind of attributes. So based on that, the rarity is determined. And interestingly, this is used as sort of a trump card, or like a show off or a status symbol, essentially. And people are ready to pay a lot of money for this. Let's first talk about how much. The floor price is 87 ETH. What does that mean? That means the cheapest of any of this is essentially 87 ETH. You can see, like, this is the cheapest one. This is just a bid. This is the cheapest, and this is 87 ETH. Let's see how much 87 ETH is worth. 87 ETH to USDC is how much is this? $245,000, which is a lot, by no means. And rough back of the envelope calculation, $100,000 is 75 lakh Indian rupees, so 1.5 crores, and a little more, something like 1.75 crores. People are ready to pay 1.75 crores for one of this. And essentially the idea is they take this and they use this as their Twitter DP, which makes it interesting. And the interesting part is all sorts of people have I think Adidas had done it, or most recently, I think Jimmy Fallon had a BYC. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Jimmy Fallon is a very popular late night talk show host, and he has this BAYC. He has this particular ape, and because he has bought it, he's able to put it on this. And he's bought it for probably an insane amount of money, and that guarantees him. And then it's just a social signaling. I'm also part of this community, and like I'm part of. And then if I go and spend 87 ETH, I can also say I'm also part of the Bored Apes Yacht Club along with Jimmy Fallon. And it's just a way to say that. And that is one of the biggest use cases of NFTs, PFPs. Does that make sense? Don't worry. Yeah, it's like I said, like if you want to understand NFTs, you have to forget logic. It's like a Salman Khan movie. Right. Yeah. Somebody copy this image. Yes, you can, like that. You can right click and save as, but then even then you cannot, if you go out and try to claim that this is your NFT, and then if somebody comes and fact checks you, then it'll turn out that you actually don't, because he actually has proof on the blockchain that he owns it. And that's important to him. What are logical use cases of NFT? There's no. The more illogical you can make it, that's fine. I hope, like, eventually, yeah. Do you own any NFT? Then yeah, some. Yeah, hexagonal. Yeah, Twitter has this one. Do you think NFTs are sort of a bubble, or are they here to stay? So the thing is, with most bubbles is it's very easy to dismiss something off as a bubble. So I definitely think there's so much of a hype that's there around NFTs that will die down a bit. But then we will see real use cases of NFTs coming through. So think about it like collecting cards, right? So when I was very young, in like Cheetos, and like with Cheetos and Uncle Chips used to get like these Jenga cards, and then we were very crazy about collecting them. And similar with Beyblade and other things, Pokemon Jenga cards. So yeah, NFT is some sort of a digital collecting card for adults. Yeah, so that was NFTs. What about the metaverse hype? Yeah, like yeah, again talking about something like, let me just, since I'm sharing my screen, I can talk about gaming. Axie Infinity is like one of the most popular games out there, and essentially it has like some Pokemon type of characters, and people actually use it to battle each other and win things, and it's all on the blockchain. And then what people do is that there's an entire industry in the Philippines where people try to, so you cannot upgrade this by paying money, you need to actually let it evolve. So then others do the evolution for like others kind of rear them, like for like people who are interested in them, and then they get it to up to level 20, and then they sell it to somebody else. So that's kind of a play to earn model. You can learn more about it. Yeah, metaverse is like, it's interesting. So there's not a lot of yeah. All right, let me show you, because I'll use any excuse to watch this video. I'll just love it. And maybe we can talk about the metaverse a bit. So essentially, Snoop Dogg tried to start his own metaverse. I think it's going well, and there you kind of understand where NFTs and everything comes into the picture. So don't blame me. I just really like the song, like the video. Let's just watch it. Oh damn, it's too fast. Cool. Yeah, hope you can see the screen.
NFT, never forget to pass it. Quickest way to get your motherfucking ass kicked. Smoking big while I'm bouncing in the classic. No cap, I don't even got a gas. When the weed come around, real shit, 2 puffs, nigga, pass it. I only want that loud talk. Oh, you got it, roll it up and let me sample it. Keep an eye on my weed, cause if I don't, it'll disappear like magic. Smoke the whole sack, only got a roach back. I'ma let you niggas have it. Yeah. 2021, Snoop D.O. Dub. NFT, never forget to pass it. Quickest way to get your ass kicked. Oh yeah, this is another classic. Now right on, right on.
Cool. Yeah, I just wanted to play that because I like it, like I said. So yeah, cool. That's like essentially the metaverse. I hope it gives some perspective. I think NFTs will definitely become more interesting the more we get into all of these platforms and start using all of them. And once VR headsets and everything become more mainstream, I think then NFTs will be even more. Yeah. Right. Cool. Some interesting things in the chat. Right. I just wanted to know how much patience you have. Maybe the last thing I'd like to cover is Polygon, and then after that we can move on from there. Just let me check a bit. Cool. Are you folks ready for Polygon? That's probably the last thing I'd like to talk about and get on with it. Enjoy the rest of our Sunday. Cool. Okay. Okay. Before that, let's talk about something called the blockchain trilemma. Right. I think this was proposed by Vitalik. Where he essentially said, trying to see the images. Yeah, all right. So think about, like, I hope you can see these images. Is it a bit blurry, but I hope you can understand. All right. Essentially, you think of a centralized server, right? A centralized server, the advantage of a centralized server is that very, very fast. You hit it with a with like asking it for an API response, you ping it and you'll immediately get it as soon as possible. The only thing that you need to worry about is the server latency or anything similar like that. But a blockchain is different. By design, there are multiple nodes need to be pinged. So essentially it is not possible to, essentially build a super fast scalable blockchain like that. So what is essentially Vitalik tried to say was that this is the blockchain trilemma. You can keep two things. There are three vertices to it: scalability, security, and decentralization. So you can pick any one side of the triangle. You can take, while designing your own blockchain, you can pick any two, but you'll have to sacrifice the other. So for example, Ethereum is on the side of security and decentralization. So it's very secure. Funds which are like, once it is put up, it's immutable. Nobody can reverse the transactions. So that's why it's secure, and it's very decentralized. There are many nodes. But because of that, it has to sacrifice scalability, because only two things you can get at one time. So to solve this scalability issue is why things like layer 2 came. So for example, Ethereum is an example of a layer 1. And if you think about it, how much do you think is like the speed of Ethereum? Okay, for any idea like how much the speed of something like Visa is? If you've heard of the Visa, MasterCard, Visa, any idea about the transactions per second that can be done on Visa? Yeah, almost 20,000 transactions per second. So the entire Visa network can process almost 20,000 transactions per second, which is why when you go on and try to do a transaction on your debit card or credit card, it gets instantly confirmed. On the other hand, what's the transaction limit for Ethereum? Any idea? Somewhere around 7. It's more close to 14 or so. 14 transactions per second. The entire Ethereum world, it's like a world computer, can process only 15 transactions per second, which is pretty sad in terms of transactions per second. Obviously, it's great for decentralization security, which is why then came. So Ethereum is a layer 1, which is why there came layer 2s, and layer 2s essentially come and they build on top of Ethereum, and that's what we are going to talk about. Some people are bringing up Solana and some other layer 1s. So essentially, anything that's its own separate blockchain is a layer 1. Let me share my screen. I'm already sharing my screen. Let's go to CoinGecko and see if we can identify some layer 1s. So here we already spoke about Bitcoin, Ethereum. So these are all different blockchains. Tether is anyway a stable coin. BNB, Binance is a different layer 1. It's an L1. So this is the term where it comes from, L1. XRP is also a different L1. Terra is also a different L1. Solana is a different L1. So Solana and Ethereum blockchains are both different blockchains, and both claim that obviously both claim that they are the better blockchain. But the key thing which Ethereum claims over Solana is that if you see the blockchain scalability trilemma, Solana, it's claimed that Solana is not sufficiently decentralized, which is why it is scalable, which is why it is faster. So it is taking the other side here. It says that I will be scalable and I will be secure, but I will give up decentralization. And that is why Solana, like I think if you need to run a Solana node, it has a very high requirement, which is why people say that it's like you can only run it on AWS, an AWS chain. So essentially, if AWS goes down, then Solana is again in trouble, which again makes it centralized. Whereas Ethereum, when it moves to proof of work, you can run it out of your home computer also. Right? I hope that explains something. So, and going one step beyond, so Ethereum and Solana are different L1s. Solana is already very fast, so it does not require L2. because Ethereum is slow, it's an L1. It requires an L2. So which is the biggest L2 on Ethereum? It's Polygon, formerly known as Matic. So Matic was earlier just a side chain. It's like, think about it like there's like a normal car going, a normal train going, and next to that there is the Shatabdi Express. So you can just on board the Shatabdi Express, go faster, and then maybe from the next place where you want to go, from there you can catch the normal train. So Polygon is that layer 2 Shatabdi Express for Ethereum. And what Polygon does is it has like a variety of different types of trains. So there are different types of trains for different purposes, and that's what it is. It has different things. There's Polygon POS, which was earlier known as Matic, Hermes. There are different scaling approaches. There's like rollups. There are two approaches there: ZK rollups, optimistic rollups. There are Validium chains. All sorts of such approaches, scaling approaches are there. So there are approaches to scale Ethereum, and Polygon is just collecting all of them and say that choose your scaling approach. I don't care. You can just come in and take any of our trains and to make Ethereum transactions faster. That in essence is Polygon. Thanks for the concern, Ayush. I think we are almost at the end of the session. I'll have some water after that. Cool. Yeah, and that in essence is what, yeah. Cool. And any other questions that I could answer for now? What about staking NFTs? Little beyond the course of this. Not answer. Upgrades of smart contracts are very hard. You can read more about it. NFTs with utilities. Yeah, when I can. What's the problem we are facing in current Web3 community according to you, and how we can solve it using DAO? I think DAOs are very early. Short answer. And the current problems that you're facing in Web3 community is that there's a lot of hype. Everybody is doing it, kind of thing, and that's why people are getting into it. But then there needs to be more focus on what to build rather than just how to build. How to build is fine, but it's also important to try and understand what's out there so that you do not try to reinvent the wheel. The NFT trend same as Pokemon trend every 10 years? Maybe not. All right. Cool. Can we build a system for mortgaging NFTs? All right. I think this is near the end of our session. I'll just take a couple of more questions and then we'll call it a day. Right. How can Polygon solve a problem in terms of transactions per second and improve automation? Yeah, Polygon is, like I said, it's like the fast train, and it has various approaches to scale Ethereum. Cool. Okay. First of all, about the hackathon itself, you are free to essentially build what you want, but then we have some different sort of bounties that are already out there. So what you can do is you can make your dApp based on all of them, and there's no problem statement as such, but then you should definitely check out this doc. It has everything that has got to do with the hackathon prizes, and then you can check that out and you can essentially build something cool. And yeah, as we go ahead, there will be more time to sort of brainstorm ideas, start thinking about ideas, start diving into things, attend all the workshops that will open up your idea flow, and then we can find some time to discuss your ideas. and then you can definitely win a prize by integrating any of these boundaries. Can a beginner win something in a hackathon? Yes, you can. You have a month. So a month is good enough to learn something and cool and build it. Right. Can you give a roadmap? Not so much of a roadmap. If you really want to, so essentially is that if you really want to get a hang of Solidity development, best tutorial by far is Crypto Zombies. Just check out Crypto Zombies. Complete it to a different till I think yeah, till as far as you can do, just the Solidity path, beginner to intermediate. Cover that, it's free. And yeah, just cover that, and after that just attend all the sessions, and then we'll have like, yeah, Patrick Collins again, amazing to check out. Should we done web dev? Yes, web dev, you should have some background in web dev. Cool. Yeah, build space is also doing some cool things. Cool, folks. I hope you liked this session, and we did cover a lot of ground, right? I think we started off with exploring Ethereum, then spoke about DeFi, then we spoke about DAOs and NFTs, and then blockchain scaling. Quite a lot for 2 hours. And then I'm glad that we could do this session. Yeah, we'll try to have even more of them, and then I think we'll be revealing the metaverse soon, and then we can all hang out there and have many more such jam sessions there. Thanks everyone for joining in. Really had a great time. Thanks, folks. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.